So today I want to show you guys a variation of the hex bar deadlift that we've been using for the longest time, that actually ever since the pandemic and the lockdowns and everything started about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, whatever it's at. One of the biggest things we realized that was happening to almost every single person we worked with is that everybody was in these more sitting down, laying down, these bent forward positions that was completely changed the way our body structure was built, meaning that everything we did was so far forward based and nobody had any strength in their upper back and shoulders anymore. So a lot of the typical exercise that we were doing with people before the pandemic started, we started noticing that those exercises weren't really appropriate a lot of times anymore, just because people didn't have the strength in the backside of their body to stabilize and properly do stuff. But we still had to do certain things to give people certain results. We tried finding what's the happy medium. And one of the biggest tools we tapped into during that was switching almost, I'm gonna say probably 90% of our programming over to hex bar deadlifts. I'm gonna tell you a couple of reasons why also. Now this is a very unique looking hex bar. This hex bar is made by Prime Fitness and it's about a $1,000 bar. So if you're getting something for your home gym, I might not recommend this because it's a little pricey, but it's definitely worth the price. You might wanna get something like the regular traditional hex bars we have over there. Rogue makes a great hex bar too that's a little oversized. However, if you have any kind of back injury, I definitely recommend buying something like this because it's worth its weight in gold, because it's gonna really keep you out of your hip flexors and lower back, where any of you guys who have bad back injuries like I do, you know that you wanna go back to the exercises you love, but you gotta do it in a way that's not gonna keep you on the injured list the whole time, right? So real quick with this deadlift bar, a couple things that make it different. It's got this little opening in the back so you can very safely walk into it and walk out of it. Nobody watching this video is gonna admit it, but 3 out of 5 of you can relate to this. You tried the deadlift bar, you go to step aside, you trip, and you fucking fall getting inside of it. In front of everybody on like a Monday when all the gym's looking at you, right? This hex bar makes sure you doesn't do that, right? It's also like split squat lunges or other variations of stuff also. It also has these weird grips on them that are more ergonomically designed for your wrist, and I think it makes it easier to grab into. You can see how it's got the mag grip kind of style for any of you guys who do a lot of lat pull downs that really helps put your wrist in a better position versus the traditional old school just like piping bar, right? Which is still good. I just think this one's a little bit better. Now, the main thing with the hex bar deadlift that you're gonna get is that instead of standing in front with a barbell, holding it like this, one of the big problems with the barbell is that it's gonna put you in a position where your back's gonna naturally round forward, right? Where with a hex bar deadlift, because your hands are separated sideways, it's easier to keep your back straight and do that lift safely, where if you've ever deadlifted before, you know 9 out of 10 times you're gonna wanna round forward with your shoulders. It's just the positioning the bar is putting you into. And while it's a great exercise, it's had its time, that time has came and passed. The hex bar deadlift for most people is a way better option, all right? Even if you have a regular hex bar deadlift, not the fancy ones. So there's a lot of different cues you're gonna hear for this. The 2 things I focus on, 1, stick your boobs out. Yes, guys, you have boobs too, stick them out. The reason why is that's gonna force you to squeeze your shoulder blades tight, and if you keep your chest out the whole time, you see how that keeps your upper back and shoulders tight. You wanna keep the spine straight the whole time. The second thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make sure my knees are wide. So my knees are out, my butt is out, my chest is out, and because of the way the grips are on this bar, it's gonna let me engage my upper back and shoulders more, so when I go to lift, my spine is straight. I'm down, I keep my knees wide, I tap and I come back up. Chest out, tap and back up. And like I said, the grips, the way they're set up, it puts me in a position where it's easier to keep my shoulder blades together. It helps me stabilize the back of my spine. My knees are wide. Just keeping everything in the right place. Doing all the stuff, I'm doing all the things, right? You're just going for reps, whether you're going heavy or light, that's up to you. And when I'm done, I'm down. Now, one of the big problems they have, when you deadlift, your knees are gonna collapse in, your ankle's gonna collapse in. So by adding the band to give me a little bit more resistance, naturally, it's gonna force you to stay on the outside of your heels more. It's naturally gonna force you to put your knees out wider. And if you have a problem of collapsing into your hip flexor and feeling it in your lower back and feeling your quads, you can go heavy too, but putting a light rubber band on the handles while you lift is just gonna force you to get in a better position, because it's gonna force you to drive down the outside rail of your foot because you're trying to keep the band down. So if you feel yourself constantly lifting like this as you go, Try standing on the band with it around the handles. It's gonna fix that for you. But guys, listen, we've been doing hex bar deadlifts for a long time, and it's a phenomenal tool, especially if you're trying to work around any kind of injury for your lower back and you still wanna stay in the deadlift game. I can tell you that there's very, with the exception of going into Olympic lifting or maybe competing in a CrossFit event, with the exception of those two things, I really can't see any other reason why you would have to do a straight bar deadlift versus a hex bar deadlift. You can get all the same benefits and, you know, positive results you went from one exercise you can from the other. It's just the risk of injury is a lot less on this one. So like I said, this bar is from Prime Fitness. It goes for about $1,000, all right? It's a great bar. I definitely recommend it. If I'm gonna eventually buy a couple more. We're just not buying them right now because they're $1,000. But you can very easily go and get your old school hex bar. You can buy these bad boys brand new for like maybe $200 on Amazon, or you can go on Facebook Marketplace and probably find someone getting rid of it for a couple $100. It's fucking good to go. But like I said, that is the hex bar deadlift. That is the easiest way to keep deadlifts in your workout routine without killing your lower back. So if you have any questions about where to find a good deadlift bar, or if you're looking at one, it's good or not, or just any questions on this in general, like always, reach out to us, whether it's an email, a text message, a DM. My info's all over the fucking place. Some way, shape, or form, so either myself or my coaches can reach back out to you, give you whatever suggestions, guidance, or advice you might want on this, and then get you going in the right direction and getting you back in the deadlift game. Guys, hope that helped out. See you in the next one.